Once upon a time, in a quiet valley, where the wind always hummed a gentle tune through the ancient pines, lived a young boy named Jack. He was a small, earnest child of no more than 10 years old, with tousled brown hair that caught the sunlight and eyes full of quiet dreams. He wore a faded moss-green tunic which, although very old, was carefully mended by his mother with neat, square patches of deep blue and rusty orange thread. The patches were sewn with such care that they looked like tiny decorative patterns, showcasing a mother's deep love. They were a very poor family. The winter had been harsh, covering the land in a thick blanket of frost that wouldn't melt. Their wooden cupboards were completely bare, and the only sound in their cold kitchen was the whistling wind. The heartbreaking day had finally come to sell their last and dearest asset, their only cow, a gentle creature named Daisy. Jack loved Daisy. Her fur was the colour of fresh cream, and her large dark eyes were always full of gentle affection when she looked at the boy. For hours he would brush her coat, whispering stories of brave knights and enchanted lands. With a heavy heart, Jack led his beloved friend by a rope down the dusty road toward the village market. He walked slowly, trying to prolong every moment they had left together. His stomach rumbled with hunger, but the pain in his heart was much deeper. Every step closer to the village felt like he was carrying a heavy stone. The morning mist was still clinging to the ground like a soft silver blanket, hiding the world in an ethereal veil. As he reached the outskirts of the village, where the ancient oak trees grew, he saw a figure sitting silently on a mossy root. It was an old man with a gentle, weathered face and a beard as white as the snow. He wore a deep blue cloak that seemed to shimmer and pulse with faint silver stardust, creating an aura of timeless wisdom around him. "Good morning, Jack," the old man said, his voice as soothing and deep as a distant river. "I know where you are going, and I know the heavy burden you carry in your young heart. I offer you a unique trade, little one. Give me your gentle cow, and in return, I will give you these, the most precious thing I possess." The man opened his rough palm. Resting there were 3 small, smooth seeds. They were not ordinary seeds. They pulsed and glowed from within with a soft, warm emerald light, looking like captured pieces of a distant jungle. "These are the seeds of the sky garden," the man whispered. "Do not be fooled by their size. Plant them, and they will grow into a pathway that leads beyond the clouds, to a place where true fortune and empathy reside." Jack looked at the glowing seeds and then back at Daisy. He desperately wanted to bring his mother a miracle, to fill their cupboards and see her smile again. Desperation and hope fought in his heart, and hope won. Jack agreed to the trade. He hugged Daisy one last time, burying his face in her warm, cream-coloured fur, and then ran all the way home, his small hands clutching the glowing seeds tightly to his chest. But when he arrived home and proudly showed them to his mother, her tired face fell and tears filled her eyes. She did not see magic or hope. She only saw that their cow was gone and they had no money for bread. "Oh, Jack, what have you done?" she cried, her voice trembling with deep despair and frustration. "Magic does not fill empty stomachs, my son." With a hopeless, trembling hand, she took the glowing seeds and threw them out through the open window into the dark, cold garden soil. Jack went to bed with an aching heart, crying silent tears of deep regret, hearing only the distant mooing of his friend Daisy. He had only wanted to help, to be brave, and now he had made everything worse. But late at night, beneath the silver light of the full moon, the garden began to change, unseen by the sleeping boy and his mother. The seeds did not just lie there. They began to hum with a low, vibrant frequency. A thick green shoot broke through the dark soil. It grew thicker and stronger, wrapping its giant, majestic vines around the stones of the cottage, reaching silently toward the stars. The leaves were the size of shields, shimmering with a mix of green and gold, reflecting the moonlight and looking like malachite stones. By morning, it was a magnificent emerald green tower leading to the heavens. When Jack woke up, his small room was filled with a beautiful, enchanting green light, like walking into a dense forest. He opened the window and gasped in pure wonder. The vine was thicker than the sturdiest oak and stretched high into the sky, disappearing completely into the fluffy white mist. He looked down and saw his mother's tired face, still asleep. A newfound determination filled him. He had to fix his mistake. He wasn't climbing out of curiosity. He was climbing to save his family, to prove that his hope wasn't a foolish thing. He stepped onto the first giant solid leaf, his patched knees trembling slightly with fear, but his spirit resolute. He began his brave ascent into the unknown. The climb was long and tiring. Jack's small muscles ached and his breath was short, but his determination kept him moving. The air grew fresher and crisp, smelling of distant rain and the morning sun. When he finally broke through the heavy layer of white clouds, he found himself standing on a landscape made entirely of soft white mist that felt like spun sugar or a fluffy bed beneath his patched feet. In the distance, bathed in a warm, eternal golden light, stood a colossal palace. Its monumental pillars were carved from solid white marble, and the gigantic doors were made of polished oak, adorned with golden hinges that glowed brightly. Jack crept through the colossal echoed halls, his small patched shoes making no sound on the polished marble floors. he passed statues and paintings made by giant hands. Everything was monumental and beautiful. He entered a great chamber filled with a warm ambient glow. There, resting on a crimson velvet cushion, sat a remarkable hen with feathers made of pure, shining gold. Next to her were 3 heavy sacks overflowing with golden coins, each coin the size of a shield. And on a silver pedestal, adorned with precious gems, stood a beautiful harp. Its strings hummed softly, a low melody that sounded like a summer breeze rustling through the wheat fields back home. Jack looked at the treasures and thought of his mother's tired face, her tears, and their empty, cold kitchen. Driven by a desperate need to save her, he gathered the heavy sacks of coins and tucked the golden hen under his arm. He knew it was wrong to take what wasn't his, but the fear of starvation was stronger than his guilt. Finally, he reached out and touched the delicate strings of the magical harp. Suddenly, the harp began to sing. "Master, wake up! A stranger is in our home!" The golden strings rang out loudly, echoing like bells through the vast stone chamber. Jack froze in absolute terror. The ground began to tremble violently beneath his feet. Boom, boom, boom. A massive shadow fell over the boy, blocking the light from the magical treasures. The master of the castle had awakened. Jack looked up, his heart pounding like a trapped bird. The giant was not a terrifying monster, but a colossal man with a majestic, bearded face and eyes as deep and calm as the ocean. He wore elegant, sweeping robes woven from soft white clouds and shimmering golden sunlight, making him look like a powerful guardian of the sky rather than a brute. "Why do you take my treasures, little one?" the giant asked. His voice was not a roar, but a deep, vibrating rumble that shook the crystal chandeliers, echoing with a sense of immense authority and power. Jack was terrified, but he did not run. He remembered his mother's tears and his promise to bring a miracle. He stood tall and looked at the giant in the eye. "I am sorry, sir," Jack whispered, his voice trembling but full of truth. "My family is poor and hungry. The winter was cruel, and we had to give away our only friend, a cow named Daisy, just to survive. I only wanted to save my mother from starving. Please, I did not want to steal from greed, but from love." Before the giant could answer, the grand marble doors opened, and in walked the old man with the shimmering deep blue cloak. "He speaks the truth, old friend," the man said softly, looking up at the majestic giant. "I gave him the seeds to test his heart. He did not climb the beanstalk for greed or glory, but for love and to fix his mistakes." The giant's stern face slowly softened. He looked at Jack's patched green knees, his brave but tearful brown eyes, and the desperation in his small face. "A heart that braves the endless sky and faces a giant for its family is a rare and beautiful treasure indeed. The giant boomed gently. You may keep the golden coins to feed your village, and the golden hen, so your mother never goes hungry again. But the harp, which sings the music of the stars, must remain with me in the clouds. Jack thanked the giant with a deep bow. But wait, Jack said, turning to the old man, his eyes pleading. I do not need all this magic. If I give you back the magical harp and the hen, could you please bring Daisy back to me? We have missed her so much. The old man smiled warmly, his eyes twinkling like stars. You have learned well, my child. A true friend and the love in your heart are worth more than any enchanted song, he whispered. With a graceful wave of the old man's glowing hand, the harp and the hen flew back to their pedestals. And there, standing in the middle of the giant marble hall, was Daisy the cow, mooing softly and contentedly. Jack hugged her thick neck, burying his face in her warm, familiar cream fur. Daisy mooed happily, recognizing her friend. Jack looked toward the open palace doors, wondering how he would ever get his friend down the great emerald vine, and a rumbled laugh came from the giant. A brave boy should not have to climb down a leaf, the giant smiled. He raised his massive hands toward the sky. Suddenly, a magical path appeared from the palace entrance, a perfect, shimmering slide made of all the colors of the rainbow. It stretched from the kingdom in the clouds all the way down to Jack's little garden below, glowing with an internal light. Jack laughed, and even Daisy mooed with excitement. Jack and the cow stepped onto the top of the magical rainbow slide. Whee! Down they went, sliding gracefully and smoothly, not in panic, but in sheer joy, down the colourful light path, leaving the castle in the clouds behind. It was like riding a beautiful, colourful ribbon. When Jack and Daisy touched the garden, the sun was just rising, painting the world in warm, golden tones. His mother was running out of the cottage, her heart full of joy, not because of the golden coins Jack had brought, but because her brave boy and their gentle friend had returned home safely. As Jack and his mother embraced, they looked up at the magnificent emerald beanstalk. Bathed in the warm morning sun, the giant leaves began to shimmer and slowly turn into thousands of tiny golden fireflies. Gently and peacefully, the great vine dissolved into the morning mist, drifting away on the wind. The physical path to the clouds was gone, but the magic and the lessons it brought would remain in their garden forever. They never went hungry again. Jack used the golden coins to buy fresh bread and seeds for every poor family in the village. And though they were rich, Jack's favourite treasure wasn't made of gold. It was the quiet, happy sound of Daisy grazing in their garden under the warm morning sun. Remember, my dear ones, true wealth isn't what we keep in our pockets, but the kindness we share and the friends we hold dear. Good night, sleep tight, and dream of skies filled with golden light and magical rainbow slides.